I'm Amy from Doodle Dog Designs. I came across this old primitive table at an auction a couple of weeks ago, and when I got it, the drawer was not painted at all. It doesn't appear to have been remade. It appears that it is old like the rest of the table, but it looks like someone had tried to get the finish off of the table, and they started with the drawer and got it completely sanded down. The rest of the table has a very chippy finish. There's a lot of old paint on it that where the part of the paint got chipped off and some of it is left, and then it was just been painted over after that. I tried to just paint it to match the table, and I got the coloring pretty close, but it just is too smooth. It doesn't have any texture. So I'm going to try to see if I can add a chippy texture to the drawer. So I'm going to use some of this water putty. I'm going to mix some of that up. I want the mixture to be a little on the thick side for this process, and I'm going to put globs of it in different spots, and then I'm going to try to make it look like the paint that's on the rest of the table where it didn't chip off. So I'm going to use a putty knife and spread it out so it's flat. And then I'm going to try to make some separations in it so it looks more like cracks, like the rest of the table. I'm going to let this completely dry. The putty is now dry, and I'm going to sand it a little bit. It's a little rough in places. I'm using a 120 grit sanding block. I just want to get the rough edges off. The desk appears to have some white paint underneath the yellow, so I'm going to now paint with a coat of white. The first coat of paint is dry, and now I'm going to add this crackle medium to the drawer. I want to not only have these big chips of paint, but I want the rest of it to have a crackly appearance to it. So I'm going to paint this on everywhere. The crackle paint is dry, and now I'm going to blend up a mixture of these two paints. This one is very similar to the paint on the desk, but just a little bit darker, so I'm going to mix in some antique white with it. Then I'm going to paint it over the top of the crackle paint. As this dries, it should start crackling. It was too light of a color, so I took some of this burnt umber paint and watered it down, and then I rubbed it on, and then I'm rubbing it back off. And now I think it's probably too dark, and I think I'm circling in on the right color. I'm going to add a little bit of back at this antique white this time. I'm gonna mix a little bit of this gold in with it to go over the top again. This time I mixed a brighter yellow with the cream. I think that's closer to the right color. Still, now it's a little too bright of a yellow, so this time I'm mixing in some gold. To try to tone the yellow down a little bit. This is taking a lot of coats and trial and error, but I feel like all of these coats are really adding to the buildup of paint on the drawer to give it a more realistic look. I think the coloring is very close now. I'm going to try to use this wax now. It's an antique wax. I'm going to put it on and then buff right away. I don't want a whole lot of color. Just a little bit. I decided to do just a little bit of sanding with some 120 grit sandpaper to try to get it a little bit more to match the look of the rest of the desk. Definitely got some nice chip look here. I really like that. I ended up doing one more coat of the brown wax over the top after I sanded, and I really like how that looks dark around the light areas. And those light areas are the areas that I added with that putty, and you can see they're raised a little bit and there's some texture there. It turned out a little bit darker than the rest of the table, but I really like it much better now that it has the texture to it and is not just flat. And I think it will work until I decide to repaint the entire piece. Be sure to click the like button and subscribe below. I'll see you next time. Bye.